First of all, Anna and Lauren, thank you so much for being here today. Um, it's pretty crazy how you guys are already way ahead of us, and I know some 3Ls here are about to go through bar prep, for example, and graduation. So I'm sure we're all excited to hear about your experiences, especially being Latinas. So to introduce you guys, Anna graduated from the James E. Rogers College of Law in 2019 and is currently a staff attorney for the Florence Immigrant and Refugee Rights Children's Program. Anna passed the Arizona bar exam in July of 2019 on her first attempt. Lauren is a 2019 graduate of Whittier Law School and a California attorney. Lauren passed the California bar on her third attempt in October 2020 and is currently a criminal defense attorney with the law offices of Raul Severo in Glendale, California. So welcome, you guys. And of course, feel free to share anything more. I have a few questions, but feel free to expand on anything you'd like. So for our first question, we want to know, when you both graduated, how were you able to balance celebrating your graduation and starting to prepare for the bar exam? Go ahead.
So I know I did Barbary the first time. That one didn't start until I think it was 2 or 3 weeks after graduation. So there was still a little bit of time to kind of enjoy the fact that you just finished in law school and graduated and all the excitement, and that all kind of got to wind down by the time you actually started bar prep, for me at least.
Yeah, same. So I did Barbary as well. They do, I think for me it was a week, but which kind of sucked because I was really looking forward to maybe going on vacation, but oh well, I'll just stay here. And I think just a little bit beforehand, what I kind of was preparing for was doing the character and fitness during spring semester, and also doing preparing what I need to do for the day of the bar exam. For example, reservations for the hotel, transportation, just because once you're studying, you don't want to think about that stuff. That's just me. I didn't want to worry about that stuff. And it was a little cheaper that way too, to get the hotels really close by. So I did those. So that's the only thing that I did before, and just kind of went to these workshops like these, and just started looking at what is the bar exam. But I never did anything more than that. So yeah, that was it.
So talking about the bar itself, what did your day-to-day look like during bar study?
For me, it was literally a full-time job. It was a full-time job. I think at first, the first week, I would do 6 hours a day instead of 8 hours, but then it's just I couldn't keep up. I felt like I needed more hours to study because it's so intense. They give you a schedule of things that you need to be doing each day. And so, but I would try not to go over 8 hours because I also wanted to not overwhelm myself too much, because I just can't work like that. So I would treat it as a full-time job. And I think it's a little bit different when you start, you would take that stimulant. I think it's I forgot what it's called, but it's basically the MBE part of the bar. They kind of stimulate you as with the time restrictions and everything, and you get those results back. I think that's when I was okay, I need to settle down, study more. So I was studying mostly 6 out of 7 days of the week. So starting closer to the bar exam, I would study way more than I did in the beginning. But it's just it's treat it like a job. Treat it like a job. It sucks. It really does suck. I'm telling y'all, it sucks. It's some time that you won't ever get back. So you just want to put in the work, It's it sucks and you just need to be disciplined, have friends, like you're like, it sucks, but let's keep going. I think that's what my day-to-day looked like.
For me, it was more, I think the first time I took it, I was studying like 12-hour days. Like I would get up early and just like study all day. And I didn't give myself a break. And I think I didn't pass the first time and I think that was why I spent so much time thinking like I need to be doing 12-hour days. When I actually passed, I ended up doing a longer program. But I was doing like 4 or 5 hours a day during the week and then like 10 hours on the weekends because I was working full time as well.
And I think that goes to show you, like, I think quality is better than quantity. Obviously, like there's a lot to take in, but I think it's very important to give yourself that time to not overwhelm yourself too much because your brain can only like consume so much at a time. So I think setting those realistic expectations for yourself is really important.
Wow, that's crazy. Like I know, and for my next question or our next question would be, did you practice self-care? And I heard from you guys took some breaks, but I guess in addition to that question, how did you deal with like maybe the guilt of not studying when maybe you're thinking, I should really be studying right now instead of taking some time for myself, or I don't know, like even taking a shower or eating or being with your family, and you have like this guilt of like, I should be studying. So how did you guys deal with that in addition to self-care?
So the first time that I took the bar, like I said, I was doing like insane 12-hour days. I didn't give myself that time to self-care. I'm totally an avid gym goer. Like I always have had my routine where I go to the gym in the morning, and during bar prep, I was like, I can't do this. Like that's a whole hour of my day that I could be studying. What am I doing going to the gym? And I think it was when I realized that I needed the self-care and realizing that I can't feel guilty for, going to eat. That's when I passed.
Yeah, I would say the same as Lauren. Well, I don't go to the gym no more, but I would go to the gym every morning too. And I think just keeping that schedule is really helpful because, and I kind of am guilty of that. Like I like to work, and if I'm not working or checking my work email, I like feel guilty. But I think it's very important to try to like discipline yourself on not doing that. Like you work so hard, and so you deserve those times of relaxation. Like you're also still like a daughter or a partner or a mother, and so you can't really like just stop. So I think just like setting those expectations with your family to like, hey, like I'm gonna be busy from like 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. or 9 p.m. to 6 p.m. whatever. And as I'm getting closer to the bar, I am going to be busier, but there's these times that I will be available for us to hang out, go for a walk, go to a movie theater back when it was safe to do so, or just like even like going on walks. And when I was getting close to taking the bar exam in July, I would walk my dog and also like have flashcards. I know that's not really self-care, but it was like therapeutic because it was a different atmosphere. I was walking my dog, even though I probably like people around me would be like, what the heck? Because I would be like, oh no, I knew it. But just like even incorporating your family and then helping you like do like flashcards, like it's kind of fun, makes it a little fun too. But definitely like, I would take the whole Sunday off. Sunday would be all off to do all the things that I wanted to do, laundry, grocery shopping, anything like that. But I really needed those Sundays and half of Saturdays that I would take off as well. And so that's really important. I think it's a good thing to practice now.
I think it's something that's specific to like Hispanic or Latino households. Families don't like to leave you alone. I lived with my mom all through bar prep, and she did not understand that I was in bar prep and could not just listen to her yap about whatever in the middle of the day. And I think that's one of the biggest things that you'll probably face in bar prep if you live at home, is having to set those boundaries and having a Hispanic parent actually accept those boundaries.
Really good point. Because I know for me, even when I'm studying at home, just school, my mom is constantly making like, hey, do you want to eat something? You haven't eaten. And, just being a mom. So I totally get that. So in the days leading up to the bar exam, what was that like? How was it dealing with the anxiety, with your self-confidence in general? And then how was it like the day of the bar exam, of just getting up and, knowing that today's the day to take it?
So I know for Arizona, it's a little different, but in California, we have, I think the testing center that I went to, the first bar exam was like 3,000 people in our facility. So it was a lot of anxiety. Like, you felt the anxiety just walking into the building. There were people throwing up in the bathrooms. Like, it's just a whole lot of anxiety in the building. I think once we transitioned into taking it online, it was a lot easier. I think that's why the pass rate went up, because there wasn't that feeling of anxiety and that stress. And it was a little, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but for me, when you're sitting in a room with people that are anxious as hell, you like feed off that anxiety, you feed off that energy, and it kind of makes you anxious. So I know for me, taking it in person in California was just like, I was just a ball of stress, because I felt it coming off of everyone else, on top of the fact that I was already stressed out, and I was thinking like, there's no way that I'm gonna pass. Like, I can't even think straight. I can't even stop to actually realize that I'm taking an exam right now, because I'm so stressed out.
Yeah, and props to you, Lauren. I feel like the California bar is really, really difficult to pass. So congratulations. And yeah, that seems so stressful. I think our bar examination, I think there's like 500, I don't remember. I'm making up numbers, but it wasn't that much. But I was so nervous. I went into the mindset, which is not the best mindset, but I was ready. Like, I felt like I was gonna fail. So I already had like the registry. I had like a checklist of what to do after, whenever I get my results back, because that kind of eased my mind actually, to have next steps if I really felt that I thought that I was not gonna pass. So I did that checklist and everything. So I guess that helped me a little bit to ease my nerves, that there is a next step and that I'm going to try again, if this time doesn't work. But yeah, it was so stressful, especially like seeing other people around. Like, you don't know them, because sometimes you don't see the classmates, but you know that they're in the lobby reading a freaking book. And I'm like, oh my God, like I should be reading a book, but I was like taking a walk. So I think that's another tip, is that don't be in the hotel that's literally right next to the examination, just because all of the students are going to be there. I was like probably like a 10-minute walk from it, and there was not as much students. And I think that helped me, and the reason why is because I didn't want to see people stress out. I just didn't want to, because that would freak me out. And so, the feeling is like, you get like butterflies in your stomach, and it's just, it's like you're going to go on a like crazy ride. So that's how I felt that day. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, but I think that night I decided not to study anymore. I felt like, what I know is what I know, and I'm not going to learn something overnight. So I just took that whole like day when we got to Phoenix. I just took that whole day off and just tried to relax.
And Lauren, the California bar is 3 days?
No, it's 2. It's down to 2
days. Okay. What did you guys do in between those 2 days? So like, let's say the first day you got back to your hotel, what did you do? And were you able to sleep that night? Like, what was your, what did you guys do?
So in my head, I was going to drink, and I had a I had a fridge full of alcohol. And then I actually got back and was like, I just want to sleep. Like, I feel like the come down, at least from the first day, like I've done one day. So I just kind of slept, or I tried to. I know that I didn't sleep very well in between because I was more anxious about doing the MBEs than I was about the essays. So you try to sleep, you try to relax. But yeah, in my head, I thought like, I'm just gonna drink and that's gonna relax me. But I was so tired that I didn't even do that.
Yeah, I was so exhausted. Also, I felt like I was gonna get sick, because this is another tip. Take a jacket. It was so cold where I was at. I literally was, when I came after I was like shivering, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get sick. So I went to Target and was looking for a sweater. But yeah, again, it's something that I'm working on, but I'm really like not as confident in my intelligence. So I was like, oh my God, I literally cried that day, because I thought like I bombed it, because there was one essay that I think I just broke the rule. Like, it was one sentence, because I literally just blanked. And I was like, yep, that's it, I'm done. And then I just left, because I was like, I was so tired. I was so super tired that day. It's very draining.
After the bar, so you finish the bar, it's day 2, you're finally done with it. How did that feel? And what did you guys do after that? And then for Lauren, you passed on the 3rd attempt. So in a way, you finished it 3 times. How was it finishing it each time? Like, did it feel differently? Or are you more like, I'm just over it?
Yeah, so the first time that I took it, I felt like, well, I'll find out in a couple months, because I had no confidence about my MBEs. The second time I felt a little bit better, but I think it's harder to feel confident once you've already failed, because you feel like you've done everything you can. And you still didn't pass. So what difference does it make? After the third one, I was a lot more like, well, that's it. Like, I'm not taking it anymore. So either I passed or I didn't. So we'll see where it goes. After each one, I definitely just slept though, because you lose so much sleep after, doing bar prep for however long that you're doing it. That once you're actually done, it's just that relief, and all that anxiety is just kind of like, it's not gone, but it's like, it's out of my hands at this point. I can actually relax. I don't have to feel like I'm constantly studying. Like, I even got to a point where I would record myself reading the outlines, so that when I was driving anywhere, I could play the recording and just listen to my outline while I was doing whatever I needed to do, or go driving wherever I needed to go. So it's just, you get that moment of like, I can actually listen to music on the radio and don't have to go through outlines 24/7.
Yeah, I think for me, I was like, whew, gracias a Dios. I was so over it. I literally, the first thing that I did was like, I'm not gonna think about it. It's like how Lauren was saying, it's out of my control at this point. Like, I'm just gonna enjoy my life until I see what the results are and go from there. So I went out and treated myself to a nice soup, a pho. I love pho. So I went to downtown Phoenix and I was like eating my feelings out, but it felt so good. Like, I felt so much stress and so much burden off my shoulders, like como un peso se me quitó. And I was so happy. That was like one of the most happy relief moments I've had in a while.
Lauren, we have a question specifically for you. How did you deal with failing the bar twice? How, I'm sure there were so many emotions and thoughts running through your head, and I'm not sure if you told your family expectations, right? Like all of us going through that.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So for me, it was, I'm going to go ahead and plug Chuck's bar storage project, because I did go ahead and do a session with him. I think the first time was the hardest, because it was almost like gut wrenching. Like you don't want to see that you failed. The second time it still hurt. It didn't get any easier. But I think after not passing twice, I had that feeling like I needed this. Not that I wanted to not pass, not that I felt like I deserved to not pass, but I felt like emotionally, mentally, on my life journey, however you want to word it, whatever you believe in, like that's what I needed. I needed to realize that I don't know how to word this. Sorry. I wasn't a failure, and that's what I was identifying as. I was identifying as someone who needed to pass the bar exam. And I think taking the 3 times to have passed, it pushed me into a point where I was like, okay, I'm a person on my own. I don't need to identify as a bar taker or a bar failure or whatever. And you see it a lot with law students. And this is nothing against anyone who does identify this way, but you'll see the people who you go to a party and they're, oh, hi, I'm in law school. Like that's like the first words out of their mouth, or I'm studying to take the bar. And I realized that I had kind of become that, in the sense that I was saying like, oh, I'm studying to retake the bar again. Like I wasn't being my own person. And that's like the biggest like obstacle to overcome when you're not passing, is realizing that you are you, regardless of passing, not passing. You're not, hi, I'm someone studying to take the bar. Hi, I'm a law student. Hi, I'm a JD, whatever. You need to realize that you're a person and you take care of yourself. And I think once people realize that is when they have more success in the bar.
That seems like a huge thing for you to go through, like an identity type of change and experience. So that alone is crazy. And we have a question from a student for Lauren. She says, Lauren, what did you do different between the second and the third exam to finally pass the bar? Or just what steps were taken that were different that contributed to passing?
Yeah, so between the first 2 times I took Barbary, and it's nothing against Barbary, it just didn't work for me. The way that they did things didn't work for me. I ended up transitioning over to Bar Exam Tutors. It's like Bar Exam Toolbox is their podcast. They have a whole tutoring program, and it was a lot more personalized. And that's what I needed. I needed someone that was going to look at my essays and actually give me the feedback, versus I felt with Barbary, it was just kind of like you sent in like 2 or 3. This one I was sending in an essay every single week, and they were going over it and correcting it and telling me. And then we'd have a phone call, and they'd say specifically like, this is what you need to do. And I needed someone to break it down for me. Like there was even a moment when I finally was writing the essays, when I like wrote an essay and I was like, it's taken me all of law school, 2 times of bar prep to realize that this is what you meant by analysis. And it's something as simple as having that breakdown that can make or break you in the bar, because you need to know how to play their game.
Yeah, totally. So when both of you finally passed the bar and you got your results and you saw your name on the list, how did that feel? And what did you do immediately after or that day?
I was trying to like see what search, like Control F. I was like, should I do my first last name or my second last name? What if they spelled it wrong? So I just put Islas because it's probably easier to find than Rodriguez. So I put Islas, and then my name came up, and I just started crying. Because I really thought I wasn't gonna pass. Like I really had that in my mindset, and I already like was looking at part-time jobs. I was looking into re-enrolling. So I was just like really like, my mind was set that I didn't pass. So when I did see it, I was totally surprised, and I called my parents and I was like, "Mira, like, sí pasé." And my dad first thought that I didn't pass because I was crying. He's like, "Mija, it's okay, like, lo puedes hacer otra vez." And I was like, "No, no, like I did pass. I'm just so happy. I'm crying." But also, I was really happy and proud of myself. Even though like the bar doesn't really define of what, like, whether you can be a lawyer or not. Honestly, like, it doesn't. It's just a thing that you have to pass. But it was really exciting, and I just felt really proud because, you know, I attributed it to my parents that I'm finally an attorney and I'm gonna help y'all out.
Yeah, I think for me, I live right across the street from my grandparents, or from my grandpa. So my first reaction was to like run across the street and tell him like, "Oh my God, I finally passed." Because he was definitely the one that, like, when I didn't pass, was like, "It's okay, you're gonna take it again. Like, I'll pay for it. Like, I'm gonna help you. Like, it's gonna be okay." So yeah, for me, it was just like finally, like, that moment was just kind of like, it's finally done. I don't have to worry about this again. I know in California, I don't know if Arizona is doing a similar thing, but California was already talking about, like, if you had scored a 1390 on a prior exam, doing like a mentorship kind of program where if you had scored that score on a prior exam, you only need like 300 hours supervised clerking, I guess, to just get signed in as an attorney. So I was already kind of thinking like, okay, well, if I didn't pass, like, I guess I could do that. But there was always going to be that part of me that was like, but I didn't pass. Like, that's like the rite of passage. So I think seeing that I passed, I was like, okay, cool. I don't have to rely on that. I can, you know, I got in on my own merit at this point. I'm done. I can be an attorney, and I can throw away all these books. I can burn them.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear that when you say that. It's like you went through law school, so it's like I have to pass this freaking exam, right, to be an attorney. Totally. So I kind of took this into a different direction. So I'm gonna go back to the questions that were that we had planned for. Thank you. That it was wonderful hearing about all of that. So the next few questions pertain to bar prep itself. Is there something that you would have done differently or wished that someone had told you about bar prep before you even started?
I think I wish that I would have been told that like a tutor was worth it, I guess. When I was initially signing up for bar prep, I just kind of picked the cheapest plan in Barbary because, you know, I didn't grow up with money. And I know a lot of people struggle. So when I saw like the more expensive Barbary plans that were like, oh yeah, like this comes with, you know, the X number of essay grading and stuff, I didn't think of it as something that I needed because I was thinking I can't afford that. But I think long term, like once I finally paid for an actual tutor, I realized the benefit of it. And yeah, it sucked and I was, you know, scraping by because it was expensive, but you can't put a price on. I know it sounds cliche, and I know a lot of people are like, yeah, well, you haven't seen my wallet, you haven't seen my bank account, but you can't put a price on the amount of help that they're going to provide you, and you can't put a price on not having to take the exam 3 times.
Yeah, I think that's very true, Lauren. I think a thing too is just like how expensive it is, right? Like the program itself, but also like it's hard to work and do bar prep at the same time. So I was very privileged and fortunate to be able to live at home, and just like my parents helped me out with that, with like food and stuff. So I was very lucky, but I was just thinking about other people that don't have that, you know, and I think it's very important to look at how much it costs, and like if you're able not to work, if you could not work, I would recommend it. But if you have to work, like just look at those costs, you know, like look at those costs It's very expensive. So I think that's something that I wish I would have known. And also just thinking about other things, like how Lauren was, it's not just like the people that are always in our law schools, like Barbary, Kaplan, and I forgot the other brand, but if there's other resources out there, do your research. And I think I would have had a better time if I've gone through other resources, not just what was advertised to me, because I'm more of a personalized person. But at the end I just stick to Barbie. But I think it's good for you all to like start realizing, like looking at these different programs and seeing what you think is best for you, like in your way of learning, and commit to that instead, because it will probably make it a little easier on you, and you'll be able to obtain that information better.
I know for me, when I was looking for the tutor, I don't want to say interviewed, but I had set up calls with like 4 different companies prior to actually signing the contract, just to get a feel for them and how it was going to be. Everyone just kind of picks Barbary because they're the ones that show up at your school, but no one gets the idea of like what they're going to do for you, how they're like actually going to be involved. And that's something that I wish someone would have told me in looking at getting a bar prep company in the first place.
That's awesome. I didn't even think about that. So that's great advice. Thank you. Let's see. So the bar exam might be online again for the upcoming class that's going to take it. Do you have any advice when it comes to just taking the bar in general, or maybe even more specifically towards taking the bar online?
So I would definitely say invest in I don't want to say your computer or your tech, but definitely get to a spot where you're going to be comfortable. Like if it's easier for you to type on a wireless keyboard versus your laptop screen, if it's easier for you to use a wireless mouse, like, yeah, it might be, you can get them for like 10, 15 bucks on Amazon. And when you're sitting at your desk typing for the 6 hours that you need to, it makes a difference. And also stand up and like stretch between essays. Like if you can get up, you have the freedom. You're usually like in a hotel room, in your room, wherever you decide to take it. If it's remote, like just get up, stretch, jump around, whatever you need to like feel awake and feel like you are actually getting like a breath in between each essay, because that's not something that's afforded when you're taking it in person, and it's something that you should take advantage of when you're taking it remotely.
Yeah, I would definitely echo what Lauren said. Invest on a good mouse or a keyboard. I can't even. I think, I don't know. I'm thinking of how it would be to take it online. But I think that what will help is not having those other students around stressing you out as well. So that's good, because there's like you can feel the tension in the room. So I think that's a good thing. And I do agree with Lauren about getting up. Like I was able to like get in like a 2-minute, like just go to the bathroom real quick, and stretch there and then come back when I did it in person. And honestly, like that got my juices flowing or something. I don't know, like my brain juices flowing. But then I was like, okay, and we're just gonna do this one more time and we're done. So yeah, I just piggy off of what Lauren said.
Out of curiosity, did you guys get nervous or anxious when you see other people leaving, like way before the time ended? And like, how did you guys deal with that?
So for me, it definitely gave me anxiety to see people like done, because I was thinking like, okay, what am I like I'm going overboard or I'm doing something wrong, because obviously you guys all get it and you're just, you probably all passed. Obviously I'm not going to. Like, to me, that's like the mentality that I had in my head, and it gave me this pressure to like, I need to be done, because me not being done just showing that I don't belong here. So yeah, I mean, for me, it was definitely stressful to see everyone else getting up, and even if it was just like to go to the bathroom, I think the fact that you just saw someone moving or getting up, it was like, oh my God, they're doing it, and I'm like, I'm not where they're at. Yeah,
definitely. I echo that. I sometimes would be like, how did they even do that? Like, I was just planning on staying there the whole time, honestly, like the time allotted, because I just can't. I just, till this day, I'm just like, how did that person leave like 30 minutes before or like an hour before? I was also, I felt a little bit uncomfortable because there was a couple of people that left my row. And I was like, oh my God, they know things that I don't know. And it was so easy for them. And for me, it's so difficult. And I'm like, they're trying to like force my brain to come up with this rule that I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely stressful throughout the whole time. But I think for the MBE section, I was just like so focused that I was just like, okay, oh my God. And like reading the things are so long, like the questions are so long, and you're just like, give me like a chance to think. But yeah, just don't worry about that. I know it's hard to not worry about that, but you know, it will work out. Like there's nothing much you can do at that point, you know, just focus on you.
Yeah, I know. I was talking to an attorney past the bar, and she left like 30 minutes before because she had to get to a hair appointment. And I was like, all right, girl. Like, if it worked for
my
you.
God.
And people around her were like, this is the bar. So anyways, to each their own. So switching gears to your first post law school job, can you both tell us a little bit about how it was kind of getting out into the real world and no longer confined to a classroom? How was that like?
So I'm working criminal defense. I think it was different to just kind of be handed files and kind of be like, you're the attorney, like, let me know what you want to do with it. Because it just felt like you're not going to like teach me how to do it first. And it granted, it's stuff that like you pick up as you go, and it's not difficult stuff, but it's like, what do you mean you're trusting me with this? Like, you're just gonna like let me be a lawyer?
Yeah, for sure. My first job was actually, I was always very like defense like oriented. Like I did the wrongful conviction clinic. I was like, if prosecutors, no offense to any prosecutors, but I was just like so like against prosecutors. I was like, how could they? And turns out the first job I got was as a prosecutor, so I felt like I betrayed my whole like values and all that. But I was a prosecutor at the city of Tucson for misdemeanors. And the reason why I applied for it was because I need a job. And the second is because their city of Tucson is a little bit different than the Pima County. Well, even though right now we have a different county attorney that looks like they're doing great things. But at that time, I thought like, maybe I can make change as a prosecutor, you know? And yeah, it was scary. Like, I'm an attorney and I have all these responsibilities. I can't just like walk out and be like, okay, I'm done with my internship, deuces. I was like, literally, it was your responsibility, and it was scary. I was intimidated. I was very intimidated that I would mess something up and anything like that. So yeah, it's kind of surreal. Even now, I'm like, dang, I'm an attorney. That's pretty cool. Even though I don't know that much, but I was like, dang, I'm an attorney. Sometimes I have to like remember that. But yeah.
Yeah, you guys are complete badasses. That's awesome. So, during your first year, was there ever a moment where perhaps, I don't know, I worry about this, like just messing something up, right? Like on the job, and you have to go up to your supervisor or whatever and say like, hey, look, this happened. Did anything like that happen to you guys? And how was it fixed, or did they have your back? Anything like that?
So I'm still in my first year. I'm in my first, I'm almost 3 months in. And that hasn't happened yet. I imagine it's going to happen. I keep thinking like I'm gonna just screw something up. I'm gonna say the wrong thing, or even going from like, so when you do dependency court versus normal defense, it's the language is different. And I had a client's parent sitting on the line while I had to ask the judge what wording I needed. And I felt like a complete moron, but I was like, so I know that you don't use not guilty, but like, I don't know the word that you use. So that was kind of a moment where I felt like I screwed up, because the client's parent was probably like, who the hell did we hire? But I didn't really like mess up anything.
I always feel that way. I think it's especially true when you have a client, like you're very like worried about that. I mean, I guess technically, I mean, yeah, when you're a prosecutor, your client's a state, I guess. But like when you have a person that you're representing their best interest, I think that's even more like scary. I think the time when I messed up a lot, because I was always going to trials because I was a prosecutor. I did like three jury trials, and it was scary as heck. I definitely like was like trembling in my first one, like during the opening statements, and like I even had a defendant throw a tissue box at me. It was wild. City of Tucson court is wild. It was fun. But I am an immigration attorney now, defense attorney for kiddos, and I always fear that I'm gonna mess something up for them, and it's very scary because you know you're in immigration court, and it's just so different. There's not really rules of evidence, but they try to follow it, but there's not really rules of evidence, so it's just really weird, and just how they can make up rules out of thin air, and you just don't know what to say about it. So I think this job has been the most difficult just because of that aspect of it, and just like admin law and all that. But it's pretty cool because you know you do immigration court, you can appeal it to a federal court, and you also do juvenile court stuff. So you kind of get your feet wet everywhere. But I'm always scared. But I was trying to do my best.
That's so funny that you say that, because I was doing the prosecution clinic, and the first time I went up in front of a judge, he like semi yelled at me for like 5 minutes in front of everyone, like in front of the cops, in front of the other attorneys, the witnesses. And I'm like, all right, this is how it's going right now. So let's flip that. What's been one of the best moments so far in your job?
I guess so. In my job, I'm like a criminal defense attorney, but within our firm, I've become the resident general counsel. So I kind of take a lot of the civil cases. So they just kind of threw me a file and said, here, write the complaint. And figuring out how to write the complaint and not screwing it up was a huge, like, I'm going to call that a win. Because I have never written a civil complaint in my life. And it's one of those things where it's like, well, you're the attorney, you should just know how to do all things.
Yeah, I think for my first job, it was like when you can just dismiss a case. Like I would want to dismiss any case, to be honest. But when you like argued with your supervisor and actually got a case dismissed, that was pretty cool. And for my current job, I think the best thing is working with the kiddos, you know, and getting them released so they're not detained anymore, or, you know, getting them crossing the border because they have the right to. I think those are the best things that I've done personally in this job.
Awesome. That sounds great. Let's see. Have you faced any challenges and or obstacles unique to being a Latina woman or first generation lawyer?
So for being first generation lawyer, I think it's definitely the getting your family to understand what's going on during bar prep is a huge obstacle. And I don't even think I really overcame it. I think I just got better at ignoring my mom. But I think that's like a huge thing is Hispanic parents don't understand the boundary or the like leave me alone so that I can study. And then I hate telling the story because I always get the like sideways look on this. I think being a female, we definitely get treated different. I know that I've had in internships, in classes, in my job, I've had where I'm explaining something to someone and they're completely not even paying attention to what I'm doing. And they make a comment like, oh my gosh, you're so pretty. Oh, your hair looks so nice today. And I think it's super belittling. And that's one of the biggest things that I think we face as women, not even Hispanic women, not Latino, like it's just being women. And I've had someone say to my face that they were intimidated by me because I'm not ugly and know what I'm doing. And I was like, you wouldn't say that to a guy. So I think that's definitely something that's unique to women as a whole. I mean, it sucks, but it is what it's the sad fact is that like, we're going to get treated differently because we're women, and we're going to get treated differently, like, because we know what we're doing, I guess. But that's definitely something that I've seen in the legal field, and I would hope that it doesn't happen to anyone else. And every time I tell that story, people are like, you're just trying to humble brag. And I'm like, no, it's something that's like a legitimate issue that's actually annoying. Like I shouldn't have to tell someone like, can you pay attention to what I'm saying? Like I have a legitimate substantive argument that I'm letting you know. And that wouldn't be a problem if I was a dude.
Yeah, I think my first extreme was my first jury trial, and it was a DUI defense attorney. It's really prevalent here in Tucson. He actually has done in the past talked to the jury about the gender of the prosecutor, the ethnicity, and all that. Basically saying like, don't feel like bad for this prosecutor because she is a woman, because she's Latina. So we actually had to write a motion so that wouldn't happen. And he actually argued, I won't say names, but he actually argued for touching on that. Like it's so irrelevant. No comments. And so, yes, so I was really, like that was the first time that I was just like, wow, that's really disrespectful, and it's really irrelevant to like the substance of the issues like that we're even going to talk about. So that was a time, and you know, there's times where the defendants, because when I was a city attorney, we would work a lot with the pro se defendants, and so a lot of them would go to my colleagues to talk, and they would question whether I'm an attorney, and my colleagues is a white female, so they just assumed that I was not one. And also it has happened in the border because sometimes we accompany kids to try to, because they have a right to come in and seek asylum. And so they question whether I'm an attorney. So I have to like literally show my bar card in order to like let them know that I am. So yeah, it does come with it's with some complications there, and you know, you just need a, I don't know. There's a serious problems about that, and like Lauren was saying, unsolicited comments about our appearance. You know, we're not asking for that, so that's another thing that has happened to me as well.
Do you think that's more prevalent in the criminal field by any chance? I'm not sure if it's, I know that in general, the legal field is predominantly male, but do you think it's more so in criminal?
I do, for sure. I think criminal defense is definitely a male-dominated area, or I think even criminal just in general is definitely male-dominated, and the fact that most of the defendants are primarily male, I think it does, you get the like, well, this is like this is a bad boys club, like this is the boys club, you don't get to like hang around, and there's always that like, you have to kind of be like the hard ass, I guess, if that's like, that's what, you know, as a prosecutor, that's what they kind of look at. And same thing, like you kind of like have to play ball to make a deal, And I think because of that, they look at it like, well, you're a woman, like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I would agree. I think sometimes judges can be that way too, especially white male judges, which is the majority of our judges. Um, they just they just say things like, "Oh, that's cute." Like I just recently had one actually in Cochise County where I think I said good morning when it was good afternoon. And I was like, oh, I apologize, Your Honor. And he was like, oh, no, that's okay. That's so cute. And I was like, that is so weird to say. And like, why? And then just like also when it comes to like your appearance as a like Latinx person, you know, they assume like they talk to you in Spanish, like on the record. And it's just like really, it's kind of like weird. I don't know. It puts everyone in the room uncomfortable, and it's something that I'm trying to like figure out like how to deal with it without like getting too sassy. Because then you also think about like, what if like you're too sassy and that affects your client? Like, it's so weird. It's so weird.
Totally. I think what gets me sometimes is lady, right? Being called a lady. And I've been called that once by a judge. And I'm like, you wouldn't call my, like, the opposing counsel, a male opposing counsel, gentleman or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I know here there's definitely like some judges in Orange County that would, if you're a female in their courtroom in pants, they will not hear your case. Like they will straight up tell you like, come back to my courtroom when you're appropriately dressed.
You're kidding. That's awful.
Yeah, there's some judges like that for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've gotten, or like I was talking to someone else and they said like one of the judges said that's not very ladylike. And it's like, what is that even supposed to mean? And I think, yeah, right. And like the prosecutor, she works in SVU, the Special Victims Unit, and she was describing like an assault and describing a certain body, something describing about the body. And the judge was like, that's not very ladylike to say that in this courtroom. And she's like, that's the whole point of what we're talking about here. Like, that's why we're in this courtroom. But anyways, yeah, and Amanda says that her first boss asked her why she didn't wear more makeup. So that's great.
That's just stuff that you face as a woman in the law, and that kind of, it sucks, but
yeah.
I mean, our generation hopefully will be the ones to change that, or work towards at least getting more women in the field so that's not an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. So I know we're 4 minutes from ending, but I guess to wrap it up, you guys, any last words of advice for just law students in general, Latina students, etc.?
One big thing that I will say is your last check when you get your money for financial aid, take some of that money and put it away, because that was the best thing I did before bar prep. Like my bar prep was already paid and stuff, but when we got that last check, I took $3,000 from what I had and put it in a savings account. And that's what I had for that first summer when you're not working and stuff. And that's what I kind of lived off of and budgeted out through bar prep.
Yeah, I agree. Finances is a big deal during that summer. I think just in general, like for law school, and it's not really bar related, but also like in our field as attorneys, I think it's very important to stay authentic to yourself. Like, don't try to be not yourself or try to, I don't know, like I feel that I needed to like talk more properly and all this stuff, but like honestly, the legal profession shouldn't change you. You should change the legal profession to make it more accessible to other people. So never like change yourself about that. Like always be your authentic self. Like the way you talk is fine. And you be the change of the legal field. You don't have to change for the legal field.
Yeah, I feel like that should be like a slogan just hung everywhere. That's awesome. Well, I think we are out of questions and essentially out of time. But thank you both so much for sharing everything, honestly, with us. It was personal and it really helped everyone here. I think it helped me for sure. So I know that Chuck will be posting this on his YouTube channel. So hopefully this podcast could be getting out to more people. So thank you guys so much. Oh, tomorrow, posting it tomorrow. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate your time, and yeah, have a great Thursday.
You too.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Bar Stories Project's YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on any new content. The Bar Stories Project is brought to you by creator and executive producer Chuck Bonazza, associate producer Patrick Ryan, original music by Justin St. John and Christian Savage. Join us next time on the Bar Stories Project.